Hey, good morning, everybody. Staying in these past few weeks is really starting to drive me a little bit crazy. I'm someone that really likes to travel, and we like to go a lot of places with our family. And one of the places we go a lot is just the other side of Nashville, Tennessee. John and Ella have two cousins, Avon and Asher, and that's where they live. And it's about a 2.5 hour drive or so to get there, and it's a really boring drive. So to pass the time, sometimes the kids will play on their tablets or electronics, and sometimes we play games like we try to spot all the red trucks or the blue cars or something like that, and we keep counting, see how many we can find. But most of the time, we just chit chat. We talk, and we talk about what's going on in school or at church or in our family, or the things we want to do, the places we want to go. And we pass the time that way so that the travel isn't so boring. So today I want to tell you about a couple of men who were traveling back in Jesus's day. Now, they didn't have cars or planes or fast ways to get somewhere. And most people didn't even really have animals to ride. That was expensive, and they didn't have a way to afford that. So if you wanted to go somewhere, you walked. So these two men were traveling from Jerusalem to a town called Emmaus, and it was about 7 miles or so from place to place, so it was a fairly easy walk. So they were walking down the road, and they were talking about all the things that had gone on recently. And these two men were believers in Jesus, and they were talking about the crucifixion and how Jesus had died, and they were so disappointed and they were very sad. But then they heard that Mary had gone to the tomb, and the tomb was empty, and Jesus wasn't there anymore, and where was he? And it was a big mystery. And so while they're walking and talking about all these things, a man walks up, kind of catches up to him and starts walking beside them. And they're kind of talking, and they didn't really realize who was standing beside them. And the man really didn't want to be recognized. He wanted to kind of pick their brains and see what they were talking about. So he walks up beside him and he says, "Hey guys, what's going on? What are you talking about? Why are you so sad?" And they said, "Oh, don't you know? Kind of like, have you been living under a rock?" And so they told him about Jesus and all the things that had gone on. And he asked the men, he said, "Well, don't you know why all those things happened?" And they kind of looked at him. They were very puzzled. And so Jesus went on to tell them about his history and about himself and about how many prophecies he had to fulfill and go through. And that's why he went through all the things that he did, all the suffering and the pain was to fulfill all those prophecies. And so they started to think really hard about it, and they finally made it to Emmaus, where they were going. And so they stopped at their house they were staying at, and Jesus kind of went like he was going to go on. But they said, "Hey, friend, you've walked with us all this way. Why don't you stay and eat with us? It's getting late, and there's, it's quite a while to another town. Why don't you just stay with us?" And so he said, "Okay." So he went in and broke bread and blessed it. And when he did that, he lifted the disguise that he had on, and he showed them who he was, and they were amazed. They had heard all these things that had happened, and that Jesus was no longer dead, and they didn't quite believe it, but in that moment they saw it and they believed. And so they went and told everyone about what they had seen. And then after Jesus did that, he disappeared. So when next time you guys are traveling somewhere and you're bored and you're talking about things and maybe you're passing by people, I want you to think that maybe that person beside you isn't exactly who you think they are. And that's an opportunity for you to tell them about Jesus and about the things that are happening. And that kind of makes me think, one time I asked Ella a question. I said, and I was being kind of silly, and I said, "Have you ever seen Jesus?" And she looked at me and she said, "I don't think so, but I don't know." And that made me think, you know what? It is possible that he's here, and that he's just hidden his face from us, that we can't see him. So the next time that you are walking, or someone approaches you that you don't quite know, and you have an opportunity to tell them about Jesus, take that opportunity, because you don't know who's walking right beside you. You guys have a great week, and I'll see you next week.